Mahalo Day and Talofa, everyone. Want to welcome you guys to this live digital Kava session that we have on this evening. Um, Everything is going well on this side. Tua, it's still cold here in New Zealand, and just kind of going with what the weather has in store for us at this time. But I can't complain, because life is still good, and yeah, for today, not too rainy but just a little chilly, but at least there's no snow, so I can be grateful for that.
Mm.
But everything is good here from Mr. Aotearoa. How about you, Tua?
Yeah, I'm starting to realize here on the podcast, not only getting more grays on the beard, but the beard's pretty long. I have a love-hate relationship with having a beard and also shaving. I don't like shaving, but I also don't like having a beard. So this is pretty long because moving from San Antonio here, and the clippers for cutting hair and trimming down the beard still packed somewhere. I haven't found it, so it's been a good little run with the beard here, but definitely feeling old looking at all the grays. Must
No, I'm just thinking you got the beard going on. I did a little trimming of my beard, but it's just my hair is going a little bit long, so I need to figure out when I'm gonna start cutting my hairs. But your hair is still short, but looks like your kawa is still giving a grow over there. But yeah, just welcome all the viewers and everyone that's joining us on this digital live kava session. Polynesian Prince, Malo, little late night show. Yes, it's a little late, but we just go with when we're available, and this was the time that we're available tonight, and we decided to do a show. But it's good to have you join us, Polly Prince.
Malo.
But yeah, yeah, Malo, Polly Prince. But everything is going well, Tua. But yeah, what we have for discussion? What topics do we have for discussion
Yeah,
tonight,
we're
Tua?
gonna get through some of these comments. It's active early, and then we'll kind of go through. Water Bears, as always, welcome. He says,
Hey,
"I hate you have a love-hate relationship with California."
what's
Water
going on
Bears.
in California these days, right now that we don't know of? Water Bears, what's going on? Is the riots
It's
still going, or the protests? I would say.
still going, and California is going to have a rude awakening. It sounds like the federal government said they're not going to fund the repairs to the
Oh,
damages, so that's a bummer. UTOL says Malo Kautama, welcome,
hello,
welcome.
hello.
Mereka says Malo,
Hey,
welcome, Mereka.
hello.
Um, run it up says send them back, LOL. Masi, we have a interesting comment right
Iyo.
off the bat. I mean, this is what's fun about the Kava sessions. Every time something pops up new, unexpected topic, but you want to read this out, Mr. Atearoa, and maybe we'll have some conversation on this.
All right, yeah, let's do it. This is from Chiefs. Don't ever lie again about the Oofy Samoa. Hey, caught your lying ass. Hey, I think we
Mm.
kind of preface this to it, right? The preface was um it was not the preference of the Hamoa of today eating the Oofy, so that was kind of the thing. Of course we didn't lie. If you listen to the whole episode, then you have a good understanding of the context that we're coming from. But that's just us. We're just a friendly
Yeah,
island folks.
guys.
Shift
You
story.
know, when you run into that little guy in the village who always says he beats up everybody and he's the greatest rugby player in the world, and you know that he said this and no one said anything back to him. That's how I feel about some of these arguments. I mean, it's Chiefs, please, we would love to have a real discussion. This Oofy comment, what's his name? Story of Bo.
EO,
If
something like that.
Hey, Chiefs, are you Story of Bo? If you're Story of Bo, we invited you to join us on the Pad podcast. We will switch around the whole program tonight. If you are Story of Bo, because supposedly Story of Bo came back with a rebuttal that was supposed to be a roundhouse kick to the neck and knock us out, but small kind, the roundhouse only ended at my 385-pound stomach. And so I just got like I feel hungry. But
Mm,
there's a couple things. If you think that that was a knockout punch, I apologize, man. I feel like, it was like a little scratch on my shoulder. It really wasn't very impressive. Number one, because the so-called rebuttal didn't even address the real question. We never said that Samoans never eat ufi. We know they eat ufi every once in a while. Mr. Atearoa said, hey, he ate ufi here and there. We are talking about the preference of ufi. And how do we know Mr. Atearoa lived there for 2 years, Chiefs? Right? I went to American Samoa. I went to Western Samoa. I went to multiple markets. I drove around all the islands, over a 2 week period. Never, not even once did I see a ufi in the markets or anything. So I think it's kind of funny. I mean,
yeah.
at least
Well,
a question, you
yeah.
know?
Well, and that's another thing. And we kind of talk about the cultivation, the way it's cultivated in Samoa. It's in the vow. It's nothing that
Hmm.
you're worried about with the weeding, and you're worried about the amount of water, and then if there's too much sunlight, you know what, when you do with ufi, because it is sensitive with the sun, that you throw the coconut leaves on top, or to protect it from the sun. So it's not cultivated that like that. That's why it's called the in Tonga they usually say it's just the ufi vow, but they called it ufi
Hmm.
samoa, which is just grown with the weeds and stuff. So that's another reason, the other reason we kind of spoke on it, because like I said, it's the Ufi vow that's just kind of
Yeah.
grown over.
And some of our viewers brought up some really good points. You know how important ufi is when you go to any type of kaveinga or fa'alavelave, if you want to call it in Samoan, in Ha'amoa. You take a ufi when it's an important thing.
Mm,
I've never seen a fa'alavelave or any event online or in person where I see a Ha'amoa bring a large ufi or a large quantity of ufi. I
mm,
mean, it's just kind of interesting how these so-called rebuttals, because Mr. Bo was like, don't even get me started on all the delicacies. Hey, how about have your Oofy at the market first? You can't tell me how many delicacies you make when you don't even have Oofy. And then he mentioned, oh, we have two types of Oofy. The Oofy Samoa and the what? The Oofy Niue or something like that.
New Guinea or something.
New
I've
Guinea,
never
New Guinea. Yeah.
New Guinea, and that's what I'm saying. It's only a few of the population, like maybe of his village, that's eating it, but I can guarantee you the most Ufi people eat in Samoa is the Ufi Samoa, which is the one I've been eating. It's like the Ufi Vow. When it's available, it's available. And even the markets, if you have it with the Lu, they have that Ufi kind of cooked up with some new, loloi. And yeah, they'll have it together. But like I said, like what you mentioned, Tua, it's not like the common thing that people go with the Hamoas today. And I think did see a comment that somebody brought up that the hot boil today is probably the different than the hot boil back in the days, and I agree with that because we were a lot more one, and we were sharing, probably eating more of the same foods most of the
Yeah.
time with the ufi. Yeah.
No, and 100%, and we covered this. In
Hmm.
Tonga, there's at least 14 types, main types, and then there are variations and crosses between all of those 14 and many more. So you can't tell me that Ufi was so important and you only have two, and Tonga has dozens upon dozens of variations. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this is a good comparison. Like you mentioned, Mr. Atearoa, the Tongans, when you have a Aiki, you take care of their every needs. You need to protect them from the sun. You need to nourish them, and it's a long-term commitment. That's how I see the Tuitonga and the Tongan royalty. Maybe the Tuimanua and the Samoan chiefs, it's just Ufivao, right? They don't need attention. They just survive, and we can all look at the difference when you eat the ufi. When you eat the ufivao, you get a certain product,
Mm,
right? Let's use that as a metaphor for the differences between the political, the religious, and the overall social structure.
Mm,
And I'm not saying you know, one is better than the other, but if you have a preference, I can tell you there's definitely a clear preference on how the Tongan structure is, and we've talked about this many times before.
mm,
Throughout Polynesia, it was um, distributed power, right? There was never unified, quote unquote, Ha'amoa for many generations, and those things. The
mm.
reality is, in Tonga is the only place that had unified power. I think we discussed this with multiple people on the Matai system versus the Tu'i Tonga system. Very, very different things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that was
Well,
and that was the unique thing. I think we discussed it with Xiaoxi Eli Yu, saying that everyone had a Matai system like Ha'amoa in the Polynesian kind of family tree kind of thing. The only different thing was Tonga, which was the only
yeah,
different one. Everyone would change with the who gets the title within the family.
different
That was like a
islands. Yeah.
different islands, right? That was a normal practice. But because of like sustaining power and centralizing that power, Tongatapu was different in how they function of carrying the titles, which is interesting, and it was kind of the way things were done back then, which was a unique system, and that's why Tongatapu it is different than all the other islands. But it was a big part was how they politically structured the titles of going around.
Mm. It's a lot of interesting commentary going here. Let's go back one more time to Chiefs. He says,
Yeah.
also, we taught Tongans how to build canoes. The Lemaki clan from Samoa, ooh, I love the muscles. Tonga don't know how to build canoes, so they came to us. Interesting. Any thoughts on that,
Uh,
Mr. Aotearoa?
well, the only renowned Polynesian person that's actually built the canoes of today is Tuyone Pulotu that I know, and he's from Ha'apai that lives in Hawaii at the moment. He built a lot of the current Hokudea, which is a famous Hawaii ship canoe that's gone around all over the Pacific today. And he's also came to Tonga and built some karias and stuff, some traditional boats there. And he's the one that I know. The Lemaki clan. I'm not too familiar, Chiefs, regarding that. But I mean, I don't know any Polynesian more renowned in traditional boat building than Tuyone Pulotu. We did share a video of him. It was funny when he was saying that how I think it was Afatua, asked him if he
Yeah,
had some
interviewing
Hawaiian,
him.
interviewing him about what he should do building the boats for the Hawaiian ship or something. And he said that he doesn't need them. He already knows. He already knows what he needs to do. So I don't know anyone to my knowledge right now who has the knowledge of building the traditional canoes that's more well known than Tuyone Pulotu, unless I'm missing somebody. But that's my thoughts there.
Mm. See, once again, Chiefs, you've tried to go for a haymaker, and you totally missed the point here. Assuming, let's say I concede, because the Lemaki, there's apparently in Fiji, right?
Mm,
In Fiji, there's like a Lemaki clan there that was
okay.
sent there to build the boats for the Tongan Karias. There's also some, I think, in Ha'apai somewhere that
Mm,
were sent there. But let's step back for a little bit, Chiefs. A independent nation called Samoa never existed until colonization. Let's start with that. Okay, so you're starting from a premise of there was a independent Samoa prior to colonization. There was only a group of islands that were somewhat close together that were referred to as Ha'amoa, where the Moa clan resided,
mm,
right? This was not a national identity. It didn't exist. Let's start with that. So the whole premise of the Samoans taught you that there is no basis for that premise. It didn't exist. a nation of Samoa didn't exist until colonization. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, just like tattoos, there were different groups of people throughout the islands who were good at certain things like tattoos. And guess what? Why did the Lemaki clan move to Sam? Because the Tuitonga and the Tongan royalty said, yeah, hey, you have a talent.
Mm,
We need you. We're going to take you and send you to Fiji because you are in service of the Tuitonga and
mm.
the Tongan royalty. So that you're going to provide that. I don't know how you come up with you guys taught that. That doesn't make any sense to me on that position. At the end of the day, the Tuitonga was ruling. That was the center. That was the capital. It's just like, remember we looked at that study, Masi, about the stone axes,
Correct. Correct.
right? We
Yeah.
all recognize the stone axes were very good from Samoa. That's what one of
Correct.
the production things that Samoa did very, very well. But who was the ones that distributed it around Polynesia? It wasn't Samoa. It was the Tongan Empire or the Polynesian Empire that provided that. And our explanation for that is the Inasi, right? That came
Mm,
every year. The Tokelau and the Tongan, when they were in charge, they would bring all of those. It's like a tax, and then they would redistribute it amongst those who came. So, good luck with that. I mean, to me, that's not a very convincing because all you have to do is step back, and really your position doesn't prove anything besides the fact that the Tuitonga sent them there.
yeah.
So, yeah. Then yeah, you guys, and here's another one, and we'll go back to some other comments outside of Chiefs. Lemaki clan are the master Alia builders. Your king had to come to us. We taught you how. No, that's not what it says. Why did you guys go to Fiji? We sent you. You were sent to Fiji because you were very good at building the ships, and in Fiji is where the
The
wood
resource.
was, the
Yes.
trees.
Yeah.
So once again, hey, free to believe what you wish to believe, but
Yes.
not a very convincing position for me. Now, here's an interesting one,
Yep.
and this is run it up. There's some pushback. Some of our viewers are saying, stop trying to connect the Mormon Church with the ancient history of Tonga.
Mm.
That's our position. We see some similarities, and
Ye-
we're throwing out those ideas. We would love to hear run it up why you
Yeah.
disagree with that. And I think also Renegade here also says, now that's a discussion I agree personally. It has nothing to do with Tonga at all.
Yeah. No,
Very
that's fine.
interesting.
Well, to me, what specifically, friend it up can go specifically. What in the LDS faith are we doing it? Because we just share we just share what the ancient religion is. That
Hmm.
it's concept with the religion of Christianity. That's a whole. That's not an LDS thing. I mean, I think a lot of them are thinking that's the Mormon thing, but I mean, we're going by Hikureo, the ancient religion of being the voice, as always described in the Bible of what is described there as God. So it's the same kind of God, and that's what I'm trying to say is that's not a Mormon thing. That's a Christianity thing with how it's
Mm.
described as God being the voice, and and the definition of hikureo is like the tail end of the voice as like Jehovah. That's what I'm trying to say. So unless something specifically, run it up. If you can make it make it known what specifically in the LDS doctrine you're saying that we're trying to connect it. But that's just me. So I don't know if you had anything to share on that.
Yeah, similar. I mean, this is a digital conversation. This is where ideas come in and everybody can share their thoughts. That's why we
Yeah,
bring it up, right? We don't just highlight the
yeah,
comments that always agree with us because
yeah.
that's
No,
not
that's
realistic, right?
correct.
Your idea, like the Oofy idea and your Lemaki clan idea, you start to think
Mm,
those ideas are strong until you put it out there and then you realize, oh, your haymaker was a little scratch on the back. You need to
mm,
go back and come back with a better idea. because that one's pretty weak from our perspective. Renegade says, "Me and Run It Up disagree, but you guys are free to share your theories. Nothing wrong. 100% Renegade.
100%.
We
100%.
agree, and we would love to hear why you guys disagree with it. That's fine. Um,
Maybe I'm thinking renegade. Maybe you can go ahead and maybe give your definition of who hikureo to you. What is that? Because
yeah,
I think we've already provided our position on hikureo. If you're thinking hikureo is a person or a different idea or an ancestor, that'd be good. Maybe we can start from there. But yeah.
yeah. Very interesting. Last comment on this topic before we go to the next one. Run It Up says, Book of Mormon and Haggis, and they try to make a connection. That's an observation. That's one idea. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll never know. But that's what's the alternative? What's an alternative idea?
Well, here's the thing. Haygoth is from Vaihi, and Vaihi is the Americas. If that's part of the groups that migrated to Polynesia, then that's it. That's what we think
Exactly.
it is. So if it's that group or another group from Vaihi, the Americas, then I don't know. That's our connection. A lot of the Polynesian culture that we have today is because it's from the people from Vaihi. And we can discuss on which part of people who that it could be Hagoff, it could be somebody else, but it's somebody. What we're trying to advocate for is it's from the Americas. That's just kind of my spill there.
Yeah, Hikuleo or Renegade says, I feel Hikuleo was a person made into a deity from our people. That's just me, though. I mean, is that a possibility? Yes. But
Mm.
we kind of feel that that's kind of what happened to Tangaloa, right?
Mm.
Tangaloa was an individual who became referred to as a god over time.
Yeah. Mm.
So, I mean, reality is, were we there when we came over? Hey, maybe. See,
Yeah.
Wada Bears is always on target. Haggis
Oh,
landed in Vaini.
oh, that's why Vaini Okfefeka water bears. Oh, oh, to the max. Maria water bears. Shit.
Maria, what's it?
Okfefeka
Pakilaw,
yeah.
Pakilaw. The water ki vai go vai ni pakilaw. We learned that that's how you
Yeah.
know when the water is good. You take the leaves, throw it. Vaini has all of the good ideas
So,
apparently. A
so
Vaini
you,
poto.
so you're trying to say the people who drink from the Pakilao, the stream that's in Vaini, oy, kakay potope. Eh? Eh? Maria. I like it. I like it.
Maria. Hey, love all the comments and going on the chat. But keep going. We'll kind of integrate it as we go along. And so we're going to start with our first topic. Masi, want to talk about this is Uncle Donald.
Ooh.
Uncle Donald put Tonga on the world stage here, and they were famous. We're
Yeah.
we're we're banned, travel banned
Mm.
potentially on Tonga, Vanuatu,
Mm.
and Tuvalu, but Polynesia apparently is risking U.S. Security. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. My thoughts here too. I think this is kind of a ploy by Donald Trump to get some kind of reaction and get the Tonga government to make connection or make contact with the U.S. government. Maybe talking about certain areas to improve on, or just acknowledge them that because it's a political. A lot of these countries have strong ties to China, so it's kind of like a
Hmm.
political strategy, Dua, from the superpower. So I think it's just part of the ploy that Trump is doing. So I was hoping that maybe Tulsi Gabbard would advocate a little bit for Tonga, but
Our sister, our sister,
maybe
our
our
Samoan
sister,
sister.
yeah, but maybe Gabbard is saying, you know what, I'm only Ha'amo America, not Tonga can fend for itself. So hopefully
Mm.
the people who represent the government of Tonga get their act together a little bit and start just acknowledge that they've received information from the US, and maybe can start working from there, because I think it's more of acknowledging maybe some of the they can potentially be banned if they don't send an acknowledgement or a notice back to DC. That's just me, Dua.
Yeah,
But I don't know if you have
yeah.
anything on
You
that.
know, I was thinking that maybe it's because Tonga needs to step up our security, right, on passports and documentation. But I'm so glad that Chiefs joined us. Maybe it's because our sister Tosi is a Tu'imanua supporter, and maybe she saw our program and saw she
Big
wasn't
time,
happy that we put the story of Bo in the face with the reality that Oofy is not a Samoan president. And she said, I'm gonna show these guys, I'm gonna show these Polynesian Eyes podcasts, don't mess with my brothers and sisters from Samoa.
For Manua, eh?
Yeah. Don't mess with the Manua Ufivao. And said, yeah, put Tonga on the ban list. No, I mean I kind of agree with what you're saying, Masi. I think there was a standard drawn up on security measures and possibly relationship with China. And it's not that Tonga, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu were singled out.
Mm,
The standard on security, maybe relationship with China, and said if you don't meet a certain threshold, you're going to be included in this travel ban. And in order for that to get addressed, Tonga, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu are going to have to step up, collaborate, and like you said, this could also be kind of like the tariffs. It's a tool
mm,
to bring people to the table,
correct,
right? Bring
correct.
people to the table. Let's have conversations, and put a fork in the road. Are you going to choose China or are you going to choose the U.S.? And
Mm,
what are you going to do, right?
mm,
Um, and so that will be very interesting how that develops.
yeah,
But some people are making fun, and I was like, oh, Tonga. I was like, dude, this is Mickey Mouse, man. This
yeah.
It is what it is. Tonga,
Hmm.
you either step up your game or you get banned. Nothing personal. Business is
Nothing.
business.
And here's the thing: it's nothing personal. It's business. Is business of political play in the world of politics. That's where this is, and it's much bigger than Tonga, Vanuatu, and Tuvalu. It's just more of a ploy on other countries that are the number two trying to be number one. Well, U.S.
Mm.
has been number one for many years. So yeah,
All right. Well,
awesome.
next topic, Masi. Animals versus humans. Kind of give some background while I pull up this next
Oh
one.
yes, all right, all right. So I mean, and this is a good discussion, especially in today's age. There's a lot of people giving animals more rights than like humans sometimes, and and I think this is a good discussion that there is a difference, and maybe we can, and I can share some of my ideas on what we can do better. And Princess Latufuipeka has her right, and we respect with all her respect. She can share her opinion. We can just share ours on this, but as Polynesians, I think it's important to discuss and differentiate sometimes the difference because I think it gets a little blurry too when we start treating animals like human beings a little bit because over the future it can cause confusion in the future. In my
Mhm.
opinion, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts, Tua, with this whole topic that we're gonna discuss here before we kind of go into details.
My thoughts are this. If this is about bringing more resources and opportunity to the islands, and this is the little dance that you have to do, okay, right?
Okay.
I'm not. If this is what the little dance, it's like getting that your degree, right? You have to
Mm.
do the little dance. You have to write your papers. You have to do the reports. You do that kind of stuff. Does that mean like you're like, oh my gosh, this is the only way to survive? No, this is the European dance on positioning yourself for doors. I'm okay with that, I guess, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It's a
So
it's it's a thin
okay.
line. It's a thin
Yeah.
line. It's a thin
Yeah.
line,
Yeah.
right?
No. It,
Now, oh, go
yeah.
ahead, Mazi.
No, I'm just thinking of like the some of the oral histories with Dubo the First having our traditional dances changing their names. It's part of this
Yes,
dances with this politicking going on, and if it gives us more resources, I guess we just have to politic a little bit. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, yeah, kind of similar to that. You just understand the situation, and they said
Mm.
the Otuhaka is not good enough. So what did they say? Oh, this is a dance from Samoa. They've been Christians and they've been governed as a colony. It's accepted over there. We're gonna call ours Tamaulu.
Ma-
It's been modified. It's now
mm,
Christianized. But in
mm,
reality, it's the same thing, just repackaged, like Maui Tegelangi said, right?
Okay,
So
okay,
for me, if that's the driver behind this, okay. However, if this is what you really, really believe, like if this is not to get resources and opportunity, that's the main driver, and this is really what you believe, now I have big concerns, right? Then I'm like,
okay,
really? Do we really think this is the best way to think? So let me read a handful of these. The good news is it's not a very long
okay.
article.
Mm-hmm.
So it says in Nice, France, 4th of June, 2025, Her Royal Highness Princess Angelica Latuifuipeka Tukuaho of Tonga delivered a poised and powerful address at the One Ocean Science Congress, today urging the international community to recognize whales as legal persons with the right of life, culture, and protection under law. Interesting, right? This whole
Mm-hmm.
legal person with right to life, culture, and protection. The time has come to recognize whales not merely as resources, but as sentient beings with inherent rights. Her Royal Highness said, their survival demands a transformative shift in our legal and ethical relationship with the ocean. Representing Welo Matamoana Trust and leading a Pacific delegation that includes the Moana Nui Sanctuary Trust and the Pacific Whale Fund, the princess called on governments to adopt legal frameworks grounded in science and indigenous knowledge. Marieta, I don't know how you do that. Her message was clear. The Pacific is ready to lead with integrity, wisdom, and decisive action. This advocacy is central to the I'm a Person Too campaign. What? I'm a person too? Are they saying animals are people? They're
That's what.
persons? Okay,
Okay.
interesting. A growing global movement calling for formal recognition of whales' rights in national and international law. More than 367,000 people around the world have already signed the campaign's petition, reflecting widespread support for a new legal and ethical paradigm. Princess Latuifuipeka's stance continues a proud legacy. In 1978, her grandfather, the late King Tawhatupo IV, issued a royal decree banning all whale hunting in the Tongan waters, establishing one of the world's first whale sanctuaries. Okay,
Mm.
interesting. Today, Her Royal Highness builds on that legacy by advancing legal innovation rooted in cultural responsibility. Recognizing whales as legal persons would strengthen marine conservation and create new opportunities for sustainable development. For Tonga, this includes leadership in ethical whale tourism and access to emerging blue finance. See, if we're just talking about we just need some access to some finance, okay, we'll do the dance. It also affirms the Pacific's role in shaping global ocean governance through values of guardianship and intergenerational care. As attention turns to the United Nations Ocean Conference, Her Royal Highness's address stands as a timely and dignified reminder. The well being of whales is deeply linked to the health of the ocean and the future of our planet. This is not only a call for protection, it's a call for recognition and respect. Oh, yeah, it talks about
Yeah.
367,000 people signed it. What are your thoughts,
Mm.
Mr. Aotearoa?
Well, this is my thoughts. Like, I think you brought a good idea. It could be a politicking, just trying to get access to resources. Some of the ideas with the whole climate change and Tonga being able to get access if we kind of go with the game of saying yes, climate change and all of these things, right? Global warming, that we're a sinking island, all of that kind of stuff, whatever we need to say, right? But to me, I just see. I like what Dubois the first did. I like that decree, just saying just don't touch the whales, because that's been a popular practice with the tapu system. When
That's
when
what
a
I was
high
thinking. Yeah,
when a chief or a king just put a tapu, if on there's stories on puakas, the pigs, or certain birds that some of the chiefs would put a tapu on, and then people won't touch it. But to me, I'm not a fan of the for making it illegal, right, as a person, because one, that's not what we Polynesians have always done. We've always just put a tapu on it, and it's fine. And look, I didn't even read the article fully to see that part. And even Tubo the first just did a decree, because that's what us Polynesians just do. just put a tapu.
Mhm.
But like what you said, Dua, it could be just join this conference and say certain things to get like a. It did mention the blue finance. Okay,
Give
we
us a
played
few
that
hundred
game.
thousand dollars. Yeah,
Yes, we can play that game because we've done it before. But and this is just all respect to Princess Angelica Latufuipeka, just making sure that we we're not part of this idea saying there's a confusion of humans like are like animals. There's a huge difference, and to me, I just and like what you said, it could be a politicking that we could do. Hey, that we're doing that, but our ancestors have always put tapu, and if there's been no confusion with the animals and humans. And a perfect example, Dua, is the fonu, the turtles in Ha'apai, right? There's certain seasons that we can't touch. There's a certain tapu on it, and then there's a certain time in the season that the locals can go and catch the turtles, eat them, and not only that, use the shells and stuff to make bracelets and other um, decorations you want. And that's the same thing. And I think we can do that with the whales. Some people like to use the whales, and some people, there's better options. But to me, the tapu system seems to be something that's lasted time. That maybe we should continue to use it.
yeah,
Don't get too pretty. I feel like if we get too pretty, but we can maybe get into some funny areas. But like what you said, Tua, and I didn't think about that. It's the next level of politicking is just play the game a little bit if you want to get a certain access to the potential huge blue finance, like mentioned in the
exactly.
article. But that's just me. I don't know if you had anything to.
Yeah, I mean, I work in construction, right? And if
Mm,
the owner has an idea that I don't have to agree with the idea, but if you have the checkbook, Mr. Owner, I'll build whatever you want, right? If you want to build something weird and whatever, it's like, okay, what do you want to build? Okay, as long as you're willing to pay for it.
mm,
Um, that's the only thing I because what comes to mind when I think about this, Masi. It's the American idea of business entities being treated as a person.
mm.
Business entities have certain rights. They're treated as an individual, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting, right?
Mm.
Like a business can have, it has a quote unquote social security number, an EIN number.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
treated to have
Okay.
certain rights. So is it a creative way of doing it? Yes. So I don't mind that concept of, I don't know if rights, I guess maybe rights is the right word. I just don't like the saying a person, right?
Mm.
Like somehow it has the same intrinsic value as a human being. There's a big difference. So interesting idea, Yeah, you want me to, do the little dance, write me a checkbook. It helps my people in Ha'apai and Vava'o and Tongatapu,
Mm.
the
Mm.
whale watching tourism.
Tourism.
Okay. But also remember that these are the same groups that also criticize Tonga for still doing the whale watching and diving
Mm.
with the whales.
And getting up
So,
close. Yeah.
and getting up close. So, hey, I'd like to thank the princess for doing that. That's her role.
Mm.
She's just doing her job. Um, but at the same time, we don't, I think the concern is the same. Let's not confuse humans with whales. That doesn't mean we don't care about the whales. I think I
Mm.
like your idea, Masi. There's already a system that Polynesians use that's very effective. We
Mm.
can use that, but if this is about the dance to get a check, I'm all for it, man. Let's get the investment. We're
Okay.
not doing anything unethical, but that doesn't mean we have to, like the tithing. Hey, we believe in the same God. Why do we have to send the tithing again to Australia or wherever?
Mm.
Just leave it here in Tonga. We
Mm.
have to use these ideas and these structures to our own benefit, and I'm hoping that that's what the princess is doing.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Good discussion on that one. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna skip to this one. This one is an interesting one. I was gonna do the family one, but this is
Ooh.
an interesting little situation here, and you know, I don't want to hear it from the Tui Manua, blah 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 people said, oh, there's no evidence for that, right?
Mm.
Um, let's let's just say this: the only evidence we have for the Tuimanua is pretty much oral history. So don't get angry at the people. Don't get angry at the people of Tokelau for having
Their
their
own
own.
oral history.
Yeah. So let's just read and explore what
Okay.
Tokelau brothers and sisters.
And this is the
If
first
you
time I've
oh,
ever heard this, Tua. This is the first time I've ever heard this,
time.
that Tuna Fata from Tokelau.
Yeah, I mean I never heard of it. Um, Let me see if I can zoom in, or maybe I would like you to read it, Mister Atera, but I don't know if I can zoom in.
I can read it. I can see it from here.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there. Hey! What's going on here? The Zoom is not working. Oh, maybe actually, our that's the video that Kava University reached out to me. He was looking for.
Okay.
Where is this? Fihalaki tamai for Zoom. I zoom in and I messed everything up right here. All
Okay.
right, you can read it. You can read it,
Yep.
Masi.
I can read it from here.
Okay.
So Tokelau history, story of Tuna and Fata, real names, Kava and Hingano. So that's the names in Tokelau Tua. Are they saying the Kava
That's
and Hingano?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. All right. In the time of old Tokelau, on the island of Fagaofo, there lived a high chief with two sons named Kava and Hingano. These brothers are remembered in oral history by their nicknames, Tuna and Fata. I can see that because in Polynesians they have like couple names, like you know how they always say
Hmm.
the Inua Pratenetene sometimes
Yeah.
with the other names they go by. Okay. The leaders of Tokelau knew that Kava and Hingano had a sister who was living in Samoa. She married a high chief there. However, during this time, Samoa was under foreign rule occupied by Tongans. Concerned with their sister's safety, the chief of Tokelau sent his sons to Samoa to bring her back home. When Kava and Hingano arrived in Samoa, they followed the river inland, walking along an upstream track. Along the way, they met a woman who was cleaning fish on a wooden table. Curious, the woman asked who they were. Thinking quickly, the brothers used nicknames inspired by what they saw. Kava said his name was Tuna, after the fish she was cleaning, and Hingano said Fata, after the table she was using. In time, the brothers led the rebellion against the Tongan occupiers. They gathered a battalion and helped the Samoans drive out the Tongans. With victory, they restored the village and chiefly house where their sister had lived. However, their sister chose to remain in Samoa with her husband. Having completed their mission, Tuna and Fata, Gava and Hingano returned to Tokelau as heroes. It is important to note that another figure, Savea, is often mentioned in connection with this story. However, Savea was a Samoan who followed them. Very interesting. What's your
Hmm.
thoughts, Tua?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that stick out to me, and number one, it wasn't a foreign invasion from our perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
was maybe an oppressive leader at best, um, because there was no independent state of Samoa and separate state of Tonga. It was all the Polynesian nation. So that's one of my
Mm,
critiques of this story. Um, the other one of my critique of the story is they make it sound like it was some kind of revolution, like they led. It was not a war, quote unquote. It was a single battle, in my
correct.
opinion.
Mm,
Right. So hey, maybe Tuna and Fata were from Tokelau, but at the same time, Tokelau wasn't a independent nation. It was just another island within the Polynesian. We'll just call it the
yeah,
Polynesian,
yeah.
right? It was another island in the Polynesian, and we were all one people. So, is it possible? Yes.
Mm,
I don't necessarily agree with some of the descriptions, but it's oral history. No oral history is going to catch every detail accurately. Many times oral history is about the overall theme and the overall context and maybe the major parts of the story. or have some relevance to actual history. But I mean, this is one of the challenges of just having
Oral.
oral history without any type of ruins or backing to it. It has limitations. So I'm open to the idea. If I had to choose, do I think it's true or false? I'd probably lean to, seems like it would be really obvious to Samoa that they were from Tokelau, but I don't know. I don't know the
Okay.
politics, right? You don't, if you're the Savea who's the Marietoa family and you're running the politics, you don't want to say that the heroes were actually foreigners. You want the heroes to be local and part of your family to justify the Marietoa title and what was done. So
Mm.
I don't know. It could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Tuna and Fata were probably Samoan, but it's a possibility they're from Tokelau. What are your thoughts?
No, I probably go with you. The only reason why I say it, too, because when we pass down oral history, there's a reason why Tuna and Fata were not given the title, because the story goes it was the a relative to Tuna and Fata that got the title. So it makes sense why they didn't get the title, because the story goes they clubbed each other fighting for the title when the Tuitonga was away, and when they clubbed themselves, to me that's a that's like a message sending to me, like saying maybe they are from Tokelau. They just went back to their home in Tokelau, and then the relative who
Mm,
was more in Haamoa stayed and took up the name Marietoa, the Marietoa title. So I feel like there is a little bit some truth with the most prominent, like mind you, the oral history that I've been hearing is Tuna and Fata clubbed themselves to death and then left the Savea guy, which took the
Savea,
name.
last ending.
Yes, the last standing to take upon the name. So there is probably truth into that, and maybe there is
Okay,
some kind of connection
so
to Tokelau. Maybe when they clubbed
mm,
themselves to death, that's when they've left
just
Ha'amoa
left.
doing their mission or whatever to a close relative, and then going back. And then that Savea that really
Mm,
was kind of like part of their
a
entourage,
local boy.
Io took up the name and became the Marietoa till coming now. So that's why I find that very interesting that Tokelau shared that because when I hear that oral story, that kind of fits in with the whole thing that
Mm,
happened with them not taking it, because maybe they weren't there to take up a title. They were there to do a fatonia, a responsibility to a close relative, and then they left, and then that Savea took up the name. So that's just me too regarding that. So
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, because like we said, it's the biggest parts of the oral history story that could be referencing something, and I can see that if they
Mm,
club themselves to death, that just to represents them leaving and no longer staying in
yes.
Hamoa, and that's why the Save, because it never did make sense to me if Tuna and Fata were the heroes, someone else inherits the title. Like that
That's yeah.
doesn't
That
make
was
a lot of sense.
yes. Yeah, me too. That doesn't make sense, and that's why I do see it with that story that they from Tokelau Island, that they didn't really care to be in Ha'amoa. They just came to do
Mm,
something, and the clubbing themselves. To me, I'm interpreting, and it could be wrong because there could be other oral history, but the most dominant one I've been hearing, they clubbed themselves to death. That's a sign that they had no intention to come back to Ha'amoa, and then
mm.
Savea took it out. So I feel like that's the big truth when I was reading that. That I'm interpreting that man, there could be some truth to this. And mind you, this is
Interesting.
my first time seeing this. So
Okay. Before I was a 80-20. 80 the
mm,
story is probably not accurate, but after this conversation, maybe I'm a 60-40.
mm,
That 40% that it's accurate, that it's true, 60% that it's not true, but I'm a lot more open to it. Um, and that would also explain why it was just one battle, right?
yeah,
Because they weren't going to stay long term.
mm,
They were just there maybe to help their sister or whatever, and part of helping their sister was this rebellion. I don't know. Who knows? Very interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
very
open to that.
interesting.
I'm open to that idea.
Yeah, and hopefully, our viewers who see this can add in their thoughts and later comment on it, and then we can keep discussing. Because I feel like the more we discuss about it, the better idea will come out of it, and it will be the closer to the truth. Because no one will never know, but we can. The more you talk about it, the more refined that
The
person's idea
closer
is.
we can get, possibly.
Yes,
I'm gonna do an audible, Masi. I'm gonna do an
let's go.
audible, and I'm gonna say Junior Fa and LDS. You know, the former boxer.
Yeah, I've met him.
And
I've met him before.
yeah, what kind of dude is he? Does he seem like a cool guy?
Seems like a cool guy. It was just very cordial meeting. He was filling up gas at our local gas station up here on the road, and I saw him and I shook his hand. Just told him I'm a fan of his. This was like a couple years ago. This is before he stopped boxing. This is when he was boxing. So it's
Mm.
been a while. It's the last time I saw him.
And I'm gonna send this because I did save this video and Kava University. Let me do this. Let me send it to Kava University first before I forget, because he asked for this, and
Okay.
I told him, hey, yeah, I have it. I saved it. Um, I saved it so that one day we'll close with this one, Basi, because it is kind of interesting. I know some of our viewers are like, why we talk about LDS stuff? Well, sorry guys, this is the Kava circle. We talk about everything, and if you
Mm,
guys want to challenge the ideas, more than welcome. You
okay.
know, but this I didn't know he was LDS until I saw this video,
Okay.
or he used to be LDS.
Okay.
So this video is talking about why he got disenfranchised with the LDS Church, and we'll close out the show with this. This is funny.
Okay.
White left. Our first prophet, Joseph Smith, he translated the Book of Mormon. That's a massive cornerstone in our religion is Joseph Smith. People will say it's Jesus Christ, but really it's Joseph Smith. I got told that he just had like gold plates, ancient records of the people in America, and there were gold plates, and he read it like that. And then eventually I found out, well, yeah, he would sometimes do that, but the thing is that no one kind of saw him do that. It was always covered and stuff. And then sometimes he would do that, but then sometimes he would put a rock in a hat and look into that. And then that was how he translated the Book of Mormon.
Oh,
Now, that to me sounded really, really silly. The first time I saw that was on a South Park episode. And I know South Park always takes the piss out of everyone. But the thing is that South Park was telling the truth.
Hey, Joseph, I told my wife that you spoke with God and Jesus, and she didn't believe it.
Well, it's true. I did.
Where?
I was out in the woods praying. I was asking God if I should be a Protestant or a Catholic or what. And suddenly, God and Jesus appeared before me. And they said I should start my own church because none of the others had it right. And that's exactly how it happened.
You see? You believe it now?
Well, yeah, sure. Why would he make that up?
Dum 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 dum. Many people believe Joseph. Dum 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 dum.
Why didn't you guys tell me? So we had a seer stone, and the seer stone kind of glows, and it gives you a direct translation of what the book is saying. So he puts it in the hat, so put his face in the hat so that he can see the rock illuminate with what he has to say. And then I went back into the church's doctrine, and they said, "Oh yeah, this is right." And I'm thinking, well, then why do so many people not know about this? Before that, he was using the stone in the hat to trying to tell people where the treasure was buried. Treasure digging back then was a very common thing.
Yep.
But the thing was that no one ever found any treasure. But he used the same method to translate the Book of Mormon. This is exactly the reason why.
interesting.
Maybe you can share with everybody, maybe go into detail with the whole seer stone and the whole process of the translation. What was your understanding of how he did that, so people can have a better idea about it?
Yeah, the reality is there's a lot of uncertainty on
Hmm.
how exactly he did it. Some people say he used the Urim and Thummim, which is like a chest plate, and it had the came up with two stones because those were buried with the plates. Some people have said, yeah, he used the seer stone sometimes in a hat, and then there are other records that say there was a point where he didn't even look
Neat.
at the seer
Yeah.
stone or the plates, and that he was able to receive that inspiration directly. What I think is funny is there is record in the Bible that Joseph from Egypt would put water in a cup,
Mm,
and he would look into the water and he would be able to see things,
mm,
right? And it's supposedly the same cup that he put into Benjamin's bag of goods that hid, and then he accused them of stealing, and he kept Benjamin while he sent his brothers. So yeah, so to me, to me, there's an individual's lack of getting into the details to find how it actually worked, and say, oh, it must not be true because I just whanongo talanoa of what everybody else thought. Um, and because somehow the stories I heard from everyone else turned out not to be true, is that really a reflection of the truthfulness of of the Book of Mormon, or is it more a reflection of go and find out for yourself, and
mm.
the lack of doing that? So it's very difficult for me to kind of be like, man, come on, Junior. It's like, you mean you didn't go to find out for yourself, and then you believe something just because of people's stories and so
Yeah,
forth, and then
somebody else's
somehow,
leftovers. Yeah.
yes, and then all of a sudden, see, that's the thing, is then he says, oh, I just heard other people tell me other stuff. At what point are you just going to say, you know what, is this book true or not? At the end of the day, no one can go back in time. I was having a discussion with a guy before I left. Actually, just before I left Texas, I met with the missionaries, and we had a conversation with a kind of like a born again Christian guy,
Hmm.
and he says, "Yeah, I don't trust that human beings can pray and ask God if something's true." And then I said, "Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying that we can't pray to find out that the Book of Mormon's true. So how do you know that the Bible is true? You
Mm,
weren't you weren't sitting there when whoever wrote down the Bible and the copies of the Bible. So how do you know that the Bible's true?" And they said, "Well, because there's evidence that proves the Bible is true." And I said, "Well, first off, for every evidence that you bring up, I can find an atheist who will discredit that evidence, right?" And then I said, "So basically, you don't have faith that the Bible is true. You only believe in the Bible because there's evidence. So you don't have faith in the Bible because faith is believing in something that's true that you cannot see, right? But is true." So I don't know if that answers your question, but to me,
mm.
there's various conflicting things. To me, a more efficient way is read the Book of Mormon, pray, and ask God. And if God tells you it's not true, then I suggest you don't follow it. But if
Mm.
you pray and God tells you it's true, I suggest you follow it. That's my personal opinion. It's the same thing that we pursue here on history, on certain
Mm.
things that happen. We throw in our ideas, we have them compete, and then we have the choice to say, which idea am I going to put faith in? Because no one knows for sure on anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good points. I think with that, like what you mentioned too, with the whole seer stones and how he was different methodologies he used to try to translate the golden plates or the records of the ancient people in the Americas. It was like I think it was like a various of different days. Maybe like some days he didn't need it, like what you said, he was inspired and recorded, and so I don't know why that's a big deal. But Junior Fa was saying to me that was a big deal of translating. To me, when you read the Book of Mormon, like what you mentioned to, you read the Book of Mormon, it is very specific on how it was done, and it was just done once. That's the crazy thing. If you compare the records of the Bible to the Book of Mormon, and you talk about less hands holding scripts on stuff, you can't beat the Book of Mormon with its translation. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say when you compare the both because it was just translated once, and there's just no way that because I view the book of the Bible and also the Book of Mormon as just they're just records of ancient people. with their journey of with God, and also their trials within their own society. The Bible is a lot of the records in the Israel, um, Middle East regions, and the Book of Mormon is just all of the stories of people from Israel migrating to the Americas and explaining of their struggles and encounterments of God and their people. So that's how I see them, as record context. And to me, with the whole part of Joseph Smith translating it, he did it once, and there's just no way with a person. He wasn't, he didn't go to school, he wasn't a high intelligent person, but he did it with inspiration only from God. So to me, that's what strengthened my testimony and what my
Yeah.
belief that the Book of Mormon is true. Because I don't know if you focus, like, to me, you can focus on how he did it, but at the end product, like, you just, like what you said, hey, at the end of the day, pray if it's true or not. But when I think of it, my own personal understanding, the the way it was written, there's no way he could have written it just on his own knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's just my idea there, and just invite Junior Fa to, if it's not the right faith to believe it, then you have that freedom of choice to do what you want. But at least you can say you did it on your own without kind of, it's almost like the people who act when they're with other friends, they act a certain way, and then when you're in a certain other groups of friends, you act a certain way. That's how I see it. You have those people who are easily influenced. It's like, you tell somebody who gets out of jail, don't hang around with your old friends, because you hang around with your old friends, you always end up going to jail. And it's always that certain type of behavior, easily influenced. Don't be like that when you get something, especially with your spiritual um, identity, and knowing if something is true or not. It's something to take it personally and know it on your own terms, not on other people's
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah. No, I agree. And really, I just personally, I want to challenge his process of getting to his conclusion. Eh? Let's say we
Mm.
forget about the conclusion he came to, and we just say, you sat down and watched South Park, and that's the reason why. Okay, I'll say, they gave you some ideas. You went and read, and you thought these things, but the reality is, you're still relying on faith, regardless. Before you were relying on your faith was on what people told you initially. Then
Mm.
you went and found out new facts, and you totally switch because you're having faith in what these other people say. You know, this is why we're a believer. Go to the source, man.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you're. This is another interesting thing, Masi. Do you think it's possible to not have faith in this life? Because some people believe, oh, I believe in science. I don't need faith. I don't operate by faith because science and evidence is how I operate. Do you think that's possible? That's really true?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think it's possible, because you got to have faith in that process, or that scientist that's applying the science to make sure it's correct, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to apply faith. It's just depending on some people who just want to see actual people doing it, instead of things just happening without human intervention. And some people are like that, you know.
Mm.
That's just me. I
Yeah,
don't know
because
what you thought.
no,
What you think?
I agree. It- the reason why you cannot escape faith because no one knows everything. And a big part of the scientific method is what? Observation.
Mm,
So let's take the position with Joseph Smith and translating. Unless you were there in person watching, and even if you were there in person, you couldn't tell if he was making stuff up or not because you don't know. You can't get inside Joseph's brain and his
mm,
intent. Like, you cannot escape operating by faith. Because, like you said, oh, a scientist came out with this test. Well, how do you know that scientist is not bought off by a billionaire or by some foreign government? We we live in a time that we know that just because you're a quote unquote expert, that doesn't mean you're not influenced by something,
mm.
right?
Mm.
And and just because you're an expert doesn't mean you don't make mistakes or you not influenced by foreign actors. So I'm of the mind everyone operates by faith. You can't get around it. And then for those who say, "Oh, I'm not religious. I don't believe in God." No, you do believe in God and you are religious. You can't avoid it. All God is whatever you think is your number one thing. If you believe in philosophy,
That's your
that's
God.
your highest thing. That's your God. If you believe the most important thing is money, well, that's your God. So it to me, it's kind of interesting because it almost makes me feel like he's not just saying the LDS church is not true. He may be saying he doesn't believe in God, possibly at the rate he's going.
Mm.
But I think it's very interesting. I thought it's a valid thing to discuss because
Yeah.
we have to understand or come to an understanding of how do we determine how we behave as human beings and what we should believe in. And for me personally, I don't if you believe in any religion, I just pray that you ask Heavenly Father. I don't Let's remove the religion out. Just do
Mm.
whatever Heavenly Father tells you to do, right? Whatever that is. If you can come to me and say, "Hey, Tua, I honestly prayed and I feel like Heavenly Father told me to go this direction," I'm gonna say, if that's what you really feel, go in that direction. Who am I to get in the way of what Heavenly Father is telling you? It's like, but that's
Mm.
with the caveat that you're being sincere to yourself. That's the hard part, is I hope you're sincere to yourself, and
Mm.
I hope that Junior Fa here is being honest to yourself. Hey,
Mm.
Junior, are you really saying that that's the reason why? Or is this a convenient way to say, well, I didn't like the church anyway. I didn't like
Mm.
religion anyway. So, I found these couple instances that didn't agree. Oh, that's my easy button to say, yep, that's why I don't believe in religion or the church. Hopefully
Or
that's not the case.
or somebody in my congregation or other Christian church has done me wrong, or something. It could be
Yeah,
something, you know.
yeah. But if that's his honest opinion and he really feels that that's what he should be doing, you have my support 100%, with the hope that you're being honest to yourself. Because as human beings, we're really good at lying to ourselves. Mr.
Uh,
Atearoa, we passed the 2 hour mark. We're going to make
yep.
this live two separate episodes, but closing thoughts or anything you want to mention.
No, I think we had a good variety of topics, Tua, that I was happy that we were able to discuss. Always happy to see the viewers always chime in and sharing their thoughts and comments. Always appreciate them. Um, closing thoughts, Tua. I think that's important. Make sure you're honest with yourself in seeking that the truth, whether that's be your spiritual identity, your cultural identity, whatever truth that you seek. Sincerely ask yourself if you've done everything you can, and in a sincere heart, seek the truth. And a lot of that takes a lot of work. I think people always miss that. When you seek truth,
Underestimate.
you think that it's gonna come to you, or you just sit around and just maybe see if it's gonna show up to you or whatever. Be aware, work on the things that you need to be working on to try to seek that truth. If that means to stop certain habits, stop those bad habits. If it means to change your lifestyle and taking care of your mental health or your physical health, then do that to change that. So it takes a lot of work to try to seek the truth, because you have to put in the work, whether that's be your physical state or your spiritual or mental state. So that's what I'll close with, everybody. Dua, I don't know if you had any closing thoughts to our show.
Yes, there's a couple closing thoughts. Your words remind me of, I remember, I believe it's Grandma Piuela would always say, "E mama ni go ni pau ke ngawe i me ako toa." In this life, everything requires work,
Mm.
right? Whether it's education, whether it's family obligation, whether it's your relationship with your kids or your spouse, or your friends. All these things take work. Um, and just like the Oofy, right? The less work you give the Oofy, the less tender, the less the size of the Oofy, the less the return. But if you give effort and you take care of the details as much as you can, like the Oofy, you'll get a beautiful, delicious, very valuable Oofy that can serve your family, that can serve you, and that can serve everyone around you. So don't don't be afraid of work. And I'm not saying I'm like the best worker. I
Mm,
consider myself someone who's relatively lazy, and I have to try and push myself to be willing to work, or at least have the desire to work.
mm, mm.
The other thing I think that's important, as well, Masi, because we got some really sad news today in our family. One of our
Yeah.
cousins is no longer with us. That enjoy life, take the opportunities to spend time with family and friends as much as possible. This cousin of mine, I only met him twice, Sir Nikatoa, and yet it's a very sad thing to see him go. But it's also very comforting to know this is not the last time that I saw him was in Utah. Because just like our ancestors who believed in an afterlife with the old religion before Christianity came, and also an increased faith in afterlife in the new religion, I look forward to connecting with him in the future. But it
Mm.
also is a friendly reminder: use your time here to work to build relationships with family and friends, and take advantage of that opportunity. Um, Before I close with our always two invitations to everyone, Masi, kind of
Yo.
give everybody a heads up on the interview, the guests that we're having the
Mm.
recording with. Um, that's kind of an exciting opportunity there, and then we'll give our closing invitation as we always do.
Okay. Awesome. So we're having an interview. I think tomorrow too, huh? My time.
Correct.
With two ladies, prominent ladies. Lute Faleolo, I believe, is her name. She's the one that went viral with her suggesting that Tonga was not colonized, that we chose Christianity with that
Hmm.
popular topic. So we have her, and also along with her is her younger sister, Charmaine Talay, I believe. She's also doctorate she holds a doctorate degree, and
Architecture.
arch, she has a master's in architecture. I'm not too sure what doctorate degree she holds, but she's a senior lecturer at the University of Auckland that will join us. She's probably been to my understanding, she was the lead project in the renovation of the Tonga's airport thing, but she's into architecture and infusing Polynesian kind of flavor in the building
Mm.
of modern buildings with some Polynesian flavor into it. That's kind of my understanding briefly, Dua. So we'll have those two ladies join us, and we will do um, the discussion with them in the segment on the Polynesianized podcast, and then whenever it's ready to release, we'll release it to the viewers. But we appreciate everyone's patience, and also following this channel, the Polynesianized podcast. So hopefully it will be something that everyone will enjoy.
Enjoy. Yes, 100%. Also, interesting milestone. We dropped episode 100 on the podcast
Yes, sir.
this
Yes,
week,
sir.
so that's a cool little milestone for us in our humble little effort in our little corner and Kavabo, digital Kavabo. So that was exciting. So once again, as always, Mr. Ataroa, malo for your time,
Thank you,
and
Dua.
to our
Mahalo for your time.
viewers, stay curious and don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Till
Yes,
next
sir.
time, peace.
Peace.